Do you also love overanalyzing movie series made for kids? If so, put your seatbelt on, because we are talking about the Cars trilogy. The first movie starts us off by introducing us to the sentient race car, Lightning McQueen, who is voiced by Owen Wilson.
Wow.
Who gives us a sick opening monologue before competing for the Piston Cup, which is the most prestigious award in all of carkind. The atmosphere in the stadium is ecstatic and the lines to the bathroom are very long. Whoa. Male and female? How does that even work? Is that where Mini Coopers come from? How do these cars even reproduce? Are they built? Do these cars have sex? Alright, no. I don't even want to know the answer to those questions. So the commentators inform us that this race is mostly a 3-horse one, with an old-timer race car known as the King, who is retiring after this season, Chick Hicks, who is a dirty player that fucking murdered like 5 cars during this race, and the rookie, Lightning McQueen, of course. The race is full of hectic and crazy moments, but in the end it turns out to be a 3-way tie, because Lightning sticks out his tongue to cross the finish line at the same time as the other two. This opens up a new can of worms about the anatomy of these motorized creatures. Anyways, they decided to have a tiebreaker race in California to settle the competition. Just imagine being an attendee at this race, spending your life savings on this title race and going home with a 3-way tie and no climax. That would absolutely suck. Lightning gets moved to California by a truck, which makes no sense. Like, is he too good to drive himself or something? Pretentious. The truck fell asleep due to a very tough neon light car gang, which we then never see again, and Lightning accidentally rolls out of the back. Lightning then wakes up and drives after a truck that he thinks is his. However, he does this too fast, so he gets chased by the police. If you really think about this is a little weird though. Imagine you can get a speeding fine for running too fast. Lightning catches up to the truck, but it turns out that it was a different one. He then tries to evade his capture from the police, but in his attempt to escape, he breaks a road and ruins a city monument. Lightning then gets arrested and has to stand trial in this tiny place called Radiator Springs. And as punishment, he has to pave the road again. McQueen objects to this sentence. Objection! So the old head of the city called Doc then challenges him to a race. If Lightning wins, he gets to go free. But if Doc wins, he has to finish the road. Very obviously, Lightning wins against this old timer. No, of course not. Lightning eats shit and loses and has to fix a street that he destroyed. That evening, Lightning goes to the field with a rusty towing car called Mater. They go tipping cows, tractors, and they get chased by this enormous John Deere, which in no way should ever catch up to a fucking race car. Then Mater calls Lightning his best friend, which is kind of sad because they've known each other for a maximum of 2 hours. And Mater has been in this city for at least 50 years, judging by his rust. After a good night's rest in the Cone Hotel, Lightning goes snooping around and finds out that Doc is a legendary race car. Doc explains that he now hates racing because they all turned his back on him when he crashed and all moved over to the next big thing. Lightning tries telling the townsfolk, but no one believes him. He then goes for a sleazy afternoon drive with the Porsche attorney, which he fell in love with for literally no reason at all, which is also stupid. Does Lightning even want to get out of this town? Every moment should be spent on finishing that road and not driving around and having fun. She explains that Radiator Springs was once a very blooming town, but since Route 66 came about, everyone doesn't use these local roads anymore. The next morning, Lightning's crew came to pick him up after Doc tipped them anonymously because he wanted Lightning out of his town, just as Lightning started to become less of an asshole. This makes no sense to me, because later he comes back to support him as his pit crew, with all the townsfolk. Anyways, Lightning races, it goes bad, he sees that all the cars from Radiator Springs came for him to support him, yada yada yada. But then, the sickest moment in the entire movie. I might just have to say, sickest moment in all of fiction of all time. This blue little Italian forklift called Guido steps up to the plate and does the sickest pit stop the world and I have ever seen. The sheer grace and finesse of this scene should win Cars an Oscar alone. And he even ends it with the ice cold line. In the final lap, the dirty race car drives into the old-timer on his final race ever, because of frustration. And Lightning is about to win, but he just stops before the finish line to push the old car over the line. Like, dude, you could have just driven over the line and then drove back to push the old-timer over, to let him finish his race. Like, please, you just worked so hard for this moment and you just had to ruin it. Well, yup, that is where the first movie ends. And what have we learned? Sometimes life really do be a highway. After this, in 2011, the peak of movie history came along, in the form of Cars 2. Where Cars was a coming of age story about a shitty car learning to be nice to people, Cars 2 goes bananas. It is a spy thriller about the corrupt oil industry and an exploration of how capitalism is killing the world. Alright, I imagine I've made you extremely excited, so strap yourselves in, because we are starting off on an oil platform where a spy called Finn McMissile investigates a secret meeting of lemon cars to talk about a secret weapon, which just turns out to be a regular television camera. The spy gets spotted and, as you would expect, decides to murder 50 cars by blowing up a living boat and escaping by faking his death. Then we cut back to Lightning McQueen, who resides back in Radiator Springs after winning his 4th Piston Cup in a row. He's challenged on TV to an international race with all the fastest cars in the world by Sir Miles Axelrod, who organized the tournament to promote a new alternative green fuel. An Italian race car taunts Lightning. Mater calls in to defend Lightning but just ends up getting dissed on TV.
Hey, this is for the whale on the end. You said you have 5 kids, but have any of them popped out yet?
Lightning accepts to defend Mater. Sally convinces Lightning to bring Mater to this tournament, which Lightning originally refused because of his antics in the past. And yes, I hear you sighing behind your screen. Unfortunately, our protagonist for this movie is Mater. Nevertheless, they attend a meeting in Japan, where the spy from before meets up with his assigned assistant to try and obtain information about who is behind this evil oil scheme of which we know nothing yet. Mater roams around the convention and accidentally eats wasabi. He ruins the whole place and he pisses himself in front of everyone. After this, he goes to the bathroom where a messenger spy gets beaten up by a couple of lemon cars, while Mater is taking a piss. And of course, for plot convenience, Mater does not hear this. The spy that got beaten up secretly plays the flash drive with the tracker and the secret info on Mater. They find him and think that he is an actual spy playing dumb as a cover. After this ordeal, the first race starts and immediately turns out that something is wrong. Engines are blowing up left and right and everyone is looking at the new fuel as the perpetrator. However, we observe that the camera was the actual reason because it sends electromagnetic pulses towards the fuel. Lightning becomes second in this race because of Mater's bad communication, and he is very upset with him. Mater then decides to go home to not bother Lightning anymore. Mater is then swooped up by Finn and they go to the next race location together, in Italy. On the plane ride, the spies finally discover that Mater is actually a dumb nobody. The spies go undercover and attend this secret meeting where the plan is explained. The ominous leader, who is kept secret and totally not predictable at this point in the movie, tells them that they want to make alternative fuels look unsafe by creating their own alternative fuel. So everyone goes back to gasoline. But there are a couple of issues with this though. Why would you even create an alternative fuel in the first place? And why would you not sell it? It is just as good as your product and you still own it and make a profit on it. It makes no sense. Alright, chill, I have to think of my blood pressure. Mater blows their cover accidentally and they get knocked out. In the meantime, the second race starts, where the Pope is watching, which indicates that there is religion in this universe, and to be honest, I'm just a tired man. Boom beam boom, another car explosion and now everyone is livid. In the last race, only one car chooses to drive on this alternative fuel, because his great friend, whom he talked to twice, hit him with the
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Mater and the gang wake up inside the Big Ben, tied down, so they slowly die by getting crushed with the gears. Obviously, the next race is now in London, and the lemon cars attempt to shoot Lightning with the ray gun, which fails for a reason that is so stupid. The hippie car from Radiator Springs used his own alternative fuel to put in McQueen, instead of the one that was provided to them because he thought it was fishy. How the fuck does this guy, who is stoned all the time, even know this? By the way, this guy being a hippie is evidence for there actually being a canonical Vietnam War. Do with that information as you wish. So of course, because the laser failed, they now decided to use a freaking bomb, which they put in McQueen's pit. Mater then escapes and goes after McQueen as quickly as possible. Only for it to turn out that, whoa, Mater is the bomb. McQueen comes after Mater to apologize to him, but Mater attempts to get away to not get them blown up. After a cute moment of reconciling between the two, Mater drives off to the winner ceremony where he confronts the organizer from before, and it turns out that he is the bad guy. And of course, since Mater saw it coming, the audience definitely did as well. The bad guy gets locked up, Mater starts dating the assistant, who we then never see again, and this movie is finally over. Yippee! The final installment of the series has a very original name, Cars Freak. The movie starts and it's just another routine race, but there is a difference. Lightning now loses to a next-gen type of racer who is better than him in almost every way. And somehow no one has heard from him before, not even the commentators. Even though the enrollment of next level technology in the tournament would have definitely been noteworthy. Slowly but surely, the next gen race cars take over the spots of the older generation, until Lightning is the only one left standing. However, he does have some cleaning up to do. The Rusty sponsor guys sell their terrible company so that Lightning can have a new training ground. This makes absolutely no sense, but in the first movie it was already shown that these guys are terrible businessmen, so who cares after all. This is where he meets his new trainer, Cruz, an ambitious young lady who is very good at motivating people. She tries to help Lightning through his struggles, but he's too stubborn to accept his help and he fails drastically. The new multi-millionaire owner tries to convince Lightning to stop racing and become an endorser for merchandise, which honestly just seems like the right thing to do. But Lightning refuses, making a bet that says if he wins the next race, he gets to decide when he stops. After this, he goes to a beach with his trainer to keep training. Instead of getting coached, Lightning just ends up coaching her. Lightning then remembers that there is a race nearby, which actually turns out to be a demolition derby, which is fucking raw and by far the best part of this movie. McQueen and Cruz of course wins against all odds, and McQueen gets clowned for competing in such a stupid race. Lightning gets mad because he gets ridiculed by trolls on Twitter, and he calls Cruz a bad racer, which disheartens her and makes her break down. After that, Lightning apologizes
in advance that I'm very sorry and I apologize for the inconvenience of me not giving a fuck!
They go and find Doc's mentor to get Lightning to drive faster. They find him and he basically just says, deal with it, bozo. In the meantime, Cruz has also been training, and it turns out that she's way faster than Lightning and has surpassed him in almost every way. Finally, the conclusion of the movie. They go to the race and Lightning gets his ass kicked. After a big crash, Lightning goes into the pits where he sees Cruz being disheartened. He then spray paints his number on her and says that she should race for him. And I have no idea why there is no rule against this in the rulebook, but it's a movie, come on, it doesn't have to be realistic. She of course kills it on the track. She wins the race by doing this epic maneuver that both Lightning and Doc has mastered. Lightning then technically won because she raced on his number and he doesn't have to retire. But he does anyways and offers to be her mentor. Damn, the guys from Rusty East must be so disappointed right now. They sold their whole company just for Lightning to say, fuck it, this girl's better anyways. Looking back at the Cars series brought back loads of memories, and even though this franchise is pretty bad, it is at least still much more enjoyable than any of the soulless animated movies that come out today.
Thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please leave a like or perhaps subscribe. And as always, have a very pleasant day.